In this section of the tutorial, we're going to start working on assemblies. So for assemblies, you have your different file types. You have your standard IPTs for making your parts, and then you have standard IAM for making assemblies. And so in the assemblies, that you put together all your pieces and then put it into one whole. And to do that, you have two tools. You can create your object first within the assembly, or you can place your part. And you also have another option for placing from a content center. If you have this content center installed, you have access to lots of bolts and nuts, and they'll even do calculations and place things for you. But for now, I'm just going to place it from a file. And I made a quick design of a laptop that I'm going to use for this tutorial. So you have this. Your first component that you place is your origin. So it'll be the center of your model. And you can right click and press OK or press escape to finish that. Or you can place another piece. Okay, so those are all my pieces that I want, and in this tutorial I'm going to cover these position tools, the relationships tools, the pattern tools, and the work features. So we're going to start with the joint tool, and this joint tool automatically, you can select a specific place to align your object. Okay, so to constrain your object, you select your first place that you want to connect the piece, and then your second place that you want to connect it. So I want this to connect right over here, and it'll do an animation of that connecting, and then you click apply. Also, you can also, when you do that, you can do an alignment. So for this alignment, you're going to constrain it again. So I'm just going to constrain this plane to, and it'll show you where you want the place to be. So I want it to be constrained to the model, or that's not right. So the line tool, you want it constrained to the model. So you click your first plane and then where you want the alignment to be. So I want it to be aligned with that face, and then now it's constrained down and you can't move it anymore. And click apply. And this constraint tool is a little bit different from the joint tool. So this constraint tool, you have to constrain all your pieces yourself. So you select your first edge here, and then I'll have my second edge, and then it just places it like that, and click apply. So I'll show you that I only constrained that section right there, and I can still rotate it and move it off axis. So if I want to constrain it again so that you can't move it around like that, So I'm gonna constrain it again. Well, it's kind of hard to constrain it when you're doing that, but for other pieces it's easier to constrain it. But okay, so for the constraints you have different constraints, and for the angle constraint, you can make an object at the same angle. You select your first edge, your second edge, then it'll make it the same angle. And your tangent, where you for circles, and so put the circle tangent to the rectangle or whatever. And for inserts, this is for like inserting objects into another object. So if I wanted to insert like the hinge into this place for the lid, I just use the insert. And your symmetry, where you want to make it symmetric. And you also can have all these other options to play around with. Alright, so now I'm going to place the lid. And I'm just going to use the joint tool. And I want to join this part with over here, this hinge. And for the alignment, you can show it and move that around like that. And I can move the lid. Okay, so now I just aligned it to be closed. And I'm going to apply that, and then finally I'm going to place my hinge, which is just a circle like that. And this time I'm going to use the constrain tool. So I'm going to constrain this part, this edge, and I'm going to constrain it into this hole right here. Okay, so it constrained that, but now you have to do the other side. So I'm gonna click the other side. First I'm gonna apply that, and then I'm gonna click the other side, and now I'm gonna constrain it to this side of the hole. Alright, so okay, now that's constrained, but now I want to actually go inside of, I want the hinge to actually be inside of that. I should have used the insert tool. I'm just gonna, okay, I'm gonna use the insert. So I'm gonna select this part, and I'm just gonna insert it into this hole. Alright, so that was much easier, but I'm going to apply that, and I guess you can here you can change the offset. Okay, so I'm just changing the offset to, alright, so that's right about there, and now that hinge is aligned in there, and now that's the finished laptop design's kind of messed up though. Okay, so now for your other tools, I covered the relationship tools, and you may run into problems with it saying that you're gonna mess with another relationship, and you always have to edit your relationships. So over here you can edit your things that you did, rotational insert. So for these position tools, it just allows you to move your things around and rotate it. But don't use these tools to align your objects, because it's much easier just to use the constraints to. It's more accurate and you can actually constrain it. Okay, so your position tools and then your patterns are your patterns are the same as the 3D or 2D patterns. You select your stuff and then you select your first column and then your row, and then you select how many rows or columns you want and the offset. Okay, so that's the rectangular pattern tool. And also there's the circular one, and you click your axis direction. So you select your degrees. Okay, so you can do that. And you can do that. And also you can use your work features to create a plane just like the same as 3D, and you have your origins to select to. You can drag your origins out. And you can create your axis too. And your points and your user coordinate system if you want to change that. And for the mirror tool, you can just you select your object that you want to mirror, and then you select your plane that you want to mirror from. You click next, and then it'll make mirror that object, and it mirrored that right there across this plane. Alright, so that's it for assemblies, and you're just gonna have to play around with the joint tools and your constraint tools to learn about that better, and you have all these options to play around with. So in the next tutorial I'm gonna show you how to change the appearance of different pieces. So see how I changed the color of the lid over here to make it that black to represent the screen. So I'll show you how to use that, and I'll show you how to enable all your shadows and reflections and all your other stuff in the next video.